Although the spread of Buddhism to the Far East took centuries, it is a well-established religion in Japan, dating back nearly 1,500 years. As with any country, different schools of practice have evolved in Japan to suit the culture of its people, and all schools in modern practice in Japan have immediate origins in the Kamakura period, 1185 to 1333, with Tendai Buddhist monks of Enryakuji Temple on Mount Hiei. The three major schools in Japan today are Jodo Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, and Nichiren Buddhism, and except for the last, all originally come from China. Jodo Buddhism, also known as Pure Land Buddhism or Amidism, focuses on the salvation any person may find in the Pure Land of the Amida Buddha. It was originally founded in China in 402 CE by Huiyuan, and in 1175 brought to Japan by Honan. Honan trained as a monk at Enryakuji for 5 years, but at 18 he left dissatisfied with Tendai teachings, as many others would in years soon to follow. He traveled and studied in search of universal salvation, and at 43, after finding a revelation within Shandao's commentary on the Meditation Sutra, he founded Jodo Buddhism and established Chionin Temple. Honan's revelation was of the absolute importance of Nenbutsu, the recitation of the words Namu Amida Butsu, roughly translated as, I take refuge in the Amida Buddha. The act of Nenbutsu was not a new idea within Buddhism, but it was previously only used as secondary practice. In Jodo Buddhism, however, this alone is what determines a person's rebirth into the Pure Land upon their death. One's rebirth is determined by a single recitation, but one cannot know whether it will be the 10th time or the 10,000,000th time, so Honan preached that one should neither neglect to say it, nor say it many times without meaning. In addition, he asserted that one need not study or understand the Nenbutsu, only recite it and believe in their rebirth. The doctrines of Jodo Buddhism include the key Buddhist precepts found in all schools, such as the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path, but it differs in its method. According to the doctrine of Mappo, or decline of the Dharma, some 2,000 years after Shakyamuni's death, the world would enter a degenerate age, in which his teachings would be nearly impossible to reach through jiriki, one's own power, but would require reliance on tariki, an external power. While one may be unable to liberate his or herself from ignorance and attachment, the Amida Buddha, known in Sanskrit as either Amitabha, infinite light, or Amitayus, infinite life, shows by example a path to the Pure Land. His path excludes no one and involves only recitation of the Nenbutsu with sincere faith. It is important to note, however, that the Pure Land is not a substitute for enlightenment, but rather a realm in which one can attain enlightenment far easier. There are 3 principal sutras in Jodo Buddhism. The Immeasurable Life Sutra is Shakyamuni's reply to a question from Ananda, and includes the 48 parts of Amida Buddha's original vow, the 18th of which concerns Nenbutsu and universal salvation. The Meditation Sutra was a reply to Queen Vaidehi, who, after her son made an attempt on her life, begged Shakyamuni to know of a land where there is no suffering. The sutra describes the 13 stages of meditation used to properly visualize the Pure Land. Finally, the Amida Sutra includes another description of the Pure Land and the benefits of Nenbutsu as told to Shariputra. A large sect within Jodo Buddhism is known as Jodo Shin, or True Pure Land Buddhism. It was founded 49 years after Jodo by Shinnan, a monk of Mount Hiei who left during the 20th year of his 21-year training to follow Honan. In years to come, however, Shinnan's ideas evolved from Honan's, and he went on to teach that one should seek Shinjin, the unity of one's mind with the Amida Buddha. This occurs not by one's conscious repetition of the Nenbutsu, but through jinen, naturalness, or the deep hearing of Amida's call. Zen Buddhism, which came to Japan around the same time, was founded in 5th century China by the Indian monk Bodhidharma. Its name originally comes from the Sanskrit word dhyana, or state of meditation, and meditation is the focus and practice of the Zen schools. The goal in Zen is Satori, which though often translated as enlightenment, does not refer to the normal Buddhist term, but rather to a sort of epiphany. Kensho is the term for one's first glimpse of Buddha nature through meditation, while Satori is the state of complete understanding of the Buddha nature. The transience of Satori, as opposed to nirvana, as found in other schools of Buddhism, is said to be a reflection of Taoist principles. The main practice in Zen Buddhism is that of Zazen, or seated meditation. Through Zazen, one has two goals: imminently, to calm and unite the mind and body, and eventually, to awaken the bodhisattva within. Though the precise method in which it is done varies by sect, there are many general rules for the proper execution of Zazen. First, the meditator must be moderate in eating, drinking, and sleeping, and worldly concerns must be set aside. One should meditate within a quiet room that has religious objects, most namely, an image of Manjushri, bodhisattva of wisdom. Incense should be burned, and one should meditate for the time it takes for one stick to burn through. The meditator must wear loose clothing and sit, if possible, in full lotus position on a cushion called a zabuton. One must be seated straight upright without leaning in any direction, with their hands in a position called Hokkai Join, or the cosmic mudra. Eyes should be half open in order to remain awake yet undistracted, and should be angled downward 45 degrees. Finally, one must focus on taking deep, natural breaths while clearing their mind completely. The key sutras in Zen Buddhism are the Prajna Paramita, or Perfection of Wisdom sutras. The Heart Sutra is one such sutra that contains a discourse of the Bodhisattva of compassion, Avalokiteshvara, on Shunyata, as well as what he calls the greatest mantra, in which the perfection of wisdom is contained. Another important Prajna Paramita sutra, called the Diamond Sutra, addresses the importance of avoiding attachment, as contained in the line, "Give rise to the mind that does not abide in anything." A third, the Lankavatara Sutra, believed to contain the words of Shakyamuni Buddha upon entering Sri Lanka, addresses the primacy of consciousness. There are three sects of Zen Buddhism in Japan. The first, Rinzai, was brought to Japan in 1191 by Eisai, another Tendai monk who left Enryakuji Temple. Eisai went to study in China twice. The first time he learned of Chan, Chinese Zen ideas. Years later, he returned to study Linji, Chinese Rinzai Buddhism, under Shuan Huaichang. Upon returning to Japan, he founded Shofukuji, Japan's first Zen temple in Kyushu, the southernmost of Japan's major islands, and slowly spread teachings of Zen northward. He met the greatest success with the samurai, who could appreciate the connection of its teachings with martial arts. The key characteristic of Rinzai Zen is the koan. A koan is a puzzling statement given to students that, though paradoxical to rational thought, is used in meditation to discover an ultimate truth and approach Satori. The most famous example is, two hands clap and there is a sound. What is the sound of one hand clapping? Koan are often considered living ideas, and while they may not necessarily have just one correct answer, there are certainly incorrect answers. An answer, however, is not merely a statement, but a change in the student's entire way of living. Linji Buddhism continued to thrive in China after Rinzai began in Japan, and over 450 years later, it was brought to Japan again by a monk named Ingen as a new school called Obaku, the second sect of modern Japanese Zen. Although Obaku practices occur according to Ming Dynasty customs, their beliefs remain very similar to Rinzai, and due to their likenesses and common lineage, there is now a joint council that connects the two schools. Soto, the third and largest Zen sect, was brought to Japan in 1244 by Dogen, another monk of Mount Hiei, who asked the question, "Both the esoteric and exoteric doctrines of the Buddha teach that enlightenment is inherent in all beings from the outset. If this is so, why do all the Buddhas, past, present, and future, seek enlightenment?" Dogen went to study Rinzai as a disciple of Eisai,